Ready or Not just got its biggest update ever. This game is basically SWAT 5. It's a tactical police shooter where you play as a SWAT team leader and you have to breach into compounds and eliminate threats and free hostages. The game has finally hit release and left early access, and there's some crazy content to cover in this video. So we're going to be playing some of the new maps and I'm going to be going over the new update, and let's just get into it. So Ready or Not 1.0 is launched. You can see some of the patch notes right here. We have updates on a lot of new features in the gameplay, the visuals, the animations, the audio side of things. We have some new kit and weapons. The UI and the general user experience has seen a big overhaul, and we see the introduction of some brand new levels. There's some general improvements just to make the game play and feel more fluid, and bug fixes. Now the first key thing is this commander mode. You might actually realize we have a new mode called commander mode, which is actually a single player experience which combines existing elements with new features for progression and replayability. So we can create a new game. Now you also notice when we were creating this save, we had 3 save slots. We can create 3 separate different saves on this single player mode to run on different multiple users. So if you have a few people on your machine, or if you want to make some different saves, have different progressions, you can actually have 3 save slots. Now you can see it says disabled Iron Man mode. This is also a brand new feature. So basically Iron Man mode, if it's enabled, is actually a permadeath option, with cosmetic rewards being granted for your player's customization if you actually complete it on this mode, and you also get achievements too. There's also a new tutorial which I didn't think was there before, so this should help rookie players get into the game. And we're now dropping into the Los Sueños police headquarters on commander mode. Also, the exfiltration mechanics allows players to quit missions earlier with reduced stress penalties too. Now you're probably wondering, what are stress penalties? Well, there's actually a stress system in this new update where it basically penalizes you as the player, as an officer, if you use poor use of excessive force, and this also affects other officers' stress levels, i.e. the other players in your squad. There's also 12 brand new officer traits. These are 12 modifiers to your player, which basically enhances the gameplay, and it kind of depends on which playstyle you actually want to take. The SWAT AI has also got a big upgrade, so we have a more advanced AI system for more realistic room clearing. So if you want to clear certain rooms, you now have a few different options on how you want to breach, and you can take different breaching positions on the level as entry points. Also, based on the original SWAT 4 game and SWAT 3, you basically, as a leader, have commands that you can initiate to your squad on how to breach, where to go, and what kind of mission objectives to take up. This has been improved. We have new AI and also team commands, which allows you to order AI and players on cooperative a little bit better. The police trailer units basically allow you to collect arrested suspects during the mission and items post-mission. There's also a central hub which has been added, which we basically use for mission briefings, objectives, team views, and more. And this is a new tablet system interface we can actually make use of, which is super cool. And then there's also the new level selection screen, which I mentioned a few moments ago. This is basically a new screen which has been added, which adds some new enhanced visuals, and it allows you to select your point of entry. So when I said that we have different AI upgrades to breaching rooms, you can actually select a different entry point to start the mission on, which enhances replayability. This is the commander mode, so it says you're about to embark on a grueling journey through the streets of Los Sueños, where death could lurk around any corner. There will be no restarts or second chances once you enter a mission, so bring your A game. So this is kind of just like the Iron Man mode. Your team's lives are in your capable hands and any losses are permanent. Should you want to cut your losses at any point during a mission, gather your remaining team and return to your initial entry point in order to exfiltrate, which basically means leave the mission. Beware, while this will preserve your officers' lives, it may have a detrimental effect on their mental state. As your team gains experience through successful missions, the traits will become available to them, giving you further options on how to assemble your ideal entry team. Are you ready, Commander? So this is how you're introduced into this new commander mode. We have a new screen, so it says tap up when ready. Before you start your first missions, there are a few preparations that need to be made. Open your tablet by pressing and holding tab to view your team. So this is the new tablet mode which I mentioned before. This allows us to see our actual SWAT team, so this is who's coming with us on the missions. You can then access your team's traits. So if I click on a certain team member, you can see this guy is an armorer. He improves his own and also the team's armor. This guy is a kicker, so you and your team can reliably kick down doors with just one kick. This guy's a moral officer. He makes it even more beneficial for the team's mental health, so that's based on a new mental system. And as you can see, these guys have different profiles and also different abilities. In order to customize your own and your team's gear, head straight to the briefing room towards your SWAT unit room. Once you're satisfied with your setup, head into the briefing room and interact with the briefing desk to select your first mission. So let's go ahead and let's go to that briefing room. You can see we have our weapons, but we basically have them low ready whilst we're in this room. Now the briefing room is clearly marked up here, so we just have to enter here. This is kind of like the original briefing room on the base game, and we can go in, and from here we can access the mission selection screen. And then also if we go in here, we can customize certain options. We can see the SWAT unit in here. This is where we can modify our loadout. So we go into the locker room, and then we can enter all these lockers. We can press F to customize our character. There's now expanded options too for player customization. So you'll see this is kind of very reminiscent of games like Ground Branch. So we can obviously customize some of the things we could before, but we can change the uniform now, the pants, instead of just using a full default loadout, which just had like a few full armor sets to choose from. We can now individually customize our character. So we have face wear, gloves, boots, belt. Now you won't have that many options from the get-go, but when we mentioned cosmetics earlier, we will unlock new cosmetics from new missions. So now we can kind of make our own character like we could before. We can also customize things like tattoos, eyewear, and watches too. Now if you click loadout up here, this goes into our customization for the actual loadout. So we have weapons, the MK18 default. It's very similar to the actual original loadout. There's not really that many new additions to the weapon loadouts apart from the new weapons you can choose from. It's mostly for the actual character vanity sets that have been added. Now I'll just scroll down to the weapons so you can see what the weapons are, because they've added quite a few new weapons. There's multiple new weapons they've added in all of the different sections: assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns, and also the less lethal options. There's a few new additions as well. And of course some of these are obviously in the accessory slots rather than just the primary slots. And a lot of actual weapons that are already in here, the existing weapons, have also been updated for improved gameplay on those too. Now in the briefing room where you start the mission, this is where we can select the missions. Now this screen has also been enhanced and updated too. Now as you can see, there's a few missions we can select here. I can only select like this first mission for an example, but the actual map screen, particularly also in the normal mode, has been updated. We have some new maps on the multiplayer mode, which you'll see a little bit later, which include Elephant, Rust Belt, Sins, Streamer, Beachfront, Training, and also Situation. There's also some redesigned maps, so there's a complete overhaul for Carriers of the Vine and also Hide and Seek. And a lot of these missions now have enhanced design and AI navigation across all the levels, so the NPCs actually perform differently, so their AI behavior is upgraded. I can't show you this right now because I'm in game, but there's also a safe launch option for mod compatibility, which is quite useful. And there's also ammunition and armor overhauls for more refined mechanics for a realistic experience. There's also a rebalance to the chemical agents in the game as well as an upgrade to the main menu. There's also a settings menu overhaul, and also an improved redesign for the pause menu, which isn't really a big deal, but you can see there's a little change to it. Items are now also highlighted in game, so it's a lot easier to actually find the location of evidence pieces around the map, which were kind of hard to locate before. And there's also some expanded language support which have been added for better localization options. Also, you still have the mods button down here, which is integration for mod.io. Mod.io is basically made by the people over at moddb.com, and it allows you to download mods and customize ready or not with some 3D content and changes. Now this has got a new expanded menu which looks much better, which is kind of a little bit more like the Steam Workshop or the big Steam picture mode interface, and it's a lot better than what it used to be, and it's a lot more fluid and responsive. There's much better and more improved mod browsing on here, but you might need to uninstall or disable the mods you had in the past to actually make sure you can connect to multiplayer games still.